Sway.
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 In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning.
O'Shea goes by.
Wake your fuck ass up. That crust that shit.
I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. You can go to your apartment. It's nicer than mine.
No, look, my parents had a saying, don't go to bed angry. We're angry, let's resolve this, okay?
Your parents weren't that happy.
They're very happy.
Fine, you want to talk about it? You want to get into it?
Yes.
But let's get into all of
Yes,
it right now.
please.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
I'll start. You go down on me too much.
What?
Yeah, it's selfish. No, it is actually selfish because you don't look like I'm crazy. You act like it's for me, but really it's just to show how great you are. Like you're always helping people.
So I shouldn't go down on you as much?
Don't try and spin this as a way to not go down on me as much. That's ridiculous. Of course I want you to go down on me that much.
So take it down a notch?
No, keep going down on me. Forget this whole part of the argument, okay?
Yo, that was a clip from Trainwreck, which I actually watched it recently because a good friend of mine was told that she needs to watch Trainwreck because she's single, and she kept going through a bunch of guys, and she told me someone told her that, and I went and watched the movie and called her immediately afterwards and said that, yeah, you need to watch Trainwreck. That's exactly who you are. But that's just, I mean, when I look at the movies that way, the directed or produced or written by the guy who's with us today, and we were going over it, 40-year-old, I'm just going to name them all, Heather B. Just not all of them, but the ones that I was like, yo, he did that too?
Yeah.
My first introduction was through the Cable Guy. So that was back in 96 era. But just, Anchorman Legend of Ron Burgundy, I love that because I did do news for MTV. Reminded me of a lot of my real job. The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Fun with Dick and Jane. I'm a Jim Carrey fan. Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, one of the most hilarious films ever made, in my opinion. Superbad, Knocked Up. I mean, the list, Funny People, Get Them to the Greek. Let me see.
Bridesmaids?
Bridesmaids. This Is 40. Which is a good movie.
Yeah.
All right. The 5-year engagement. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And if you trace back the origins of any of these fine pieces of work, there's one name that you're going to see consistently, guaranteed, and that's our guest today, the one and only Judd Apatow. Let's see it, ladies and gentlemen.
That sounded impressive.
Yeah, man. And I'm not even, I'm skimming the surface here. Like, I was really looking it up. Like, damn, this dude has just really captivated our minds for years and helped us to think about nothing. No matter what's going on in the world. Perfect escapism. Thank you, Judd.
You didn't even go like Celtic Pride heavyweights world.
No, I didn't do that. I could have done that, man. Congratulations, man. I feel like you created your own genre of movies in Hollywood. Was that? Do you look at it like that, or you just?
Well, I was a fan of a certain kind of movie, and I just wanted to make movies like that. So when I was a kid, I loved Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but I also loved movies like Broadcast News and Terms of Endearment and Say Anything and all those Barry Levinson movies. And then when I was first starting out, there was like Swingers came out, and Clerks, and Friday, and all those movies. So we just are, in a way, we're just trying to do our version of that.
Of that? Is that it?
It's a combo of just what we like, and then we screw it up, and it becomes what we do.
So you brought up, like, were you Fast Times? That's a movie about high school. What kind of person were you in high school? Like, were you this frat guy, or
I wasn't.
Were you smoking weed?
I remember my dad. I asked him about pot in high school, and he said, Judd, I smoked pot once, and it didn't go well. I thought I could stop time, and he had a panic attack.
Oh my gosh, damn!
But no, I wasn't into that too much. I was into comedy, just a hardcore comedy nerd, and there weren't people who liked comedy back then. I mean, now it's popular; everybody's into it. But when I was a kid, in the early '80s, you couldn't find a friend at high school to talk to you about a Monty Python movie. I mean, there was no culture of comedy. I was just like a weirdo obsessing on David Letterman and old, Marx Brothers movies. And so I was alone a fair amount of the time.
Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think at that time there wasn't a lot of people gravitating towards comedy films?
I think something about the internet and Funny or Die and just how easy it is to access everything changed everything. And I think also like nerds have become in, but it used to be the nerd was like the guy in Revenge of the Nerds with the tape on his glasses, and there was no pride in being a nerd.
Right.
And now it's kind of the cool guy. You're Bill Gates or or Seth Rogen or something.
Yeah,
But
man.
John, I want to go back to your home life then. So with no siblings, how did you get into that? Because like me and my brothers played Atari and fought over the joystick and Miss Pac-Man and got in trouble for not eating vegetables and cleaning up and shit. Like, how did you end up going that route?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, my parents liked comedy, and they would play all the comedy records for me. And my grandma was friends with this female comedian named Toady Fields, who was, I guess in the vein of a Joan Rivers comedian. And so we would go see her at the Westbury Music Fair. Okay. And then I got into seeing like Rickles and Dangerfield there. And I just liked that comedians seemed pissed off. And I liked that they seemed to express that all the systems were unfair and BS. And it must have helped me process some young rage I had. My parents got divorced. My house was a little chaotic. And so I liked all the way comedians talked about how what people tell you is correct is actually BS.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. So how did they call it the frat pack? How did everybody come together? Like you got your, the Seth Rogens and, the Will Ferrells and all you guys, you work so well together, but how did Voltron form? Like,
Well, I think everything starts with Ben Stiller.
okay.
I think he's the beginning of it because I did the Ben Stiller show with him in 1992.
Okay.
And Ben hired Andy Dick and Bob Odenkirk and Janine Garofalo to be on that show. And then David Cross was a writer on it. And so Bob and Dave went off and they did Mr. Show. And then Ben and I went off at one point. We did Heavyweights with Keaton Thompson was in Heavyweights and Paul Feig, who created Freaks and Geeks. And then we did The Cable Guy, which had Owen Wilson and Jack Black. And then I think it just kept splintering out. And then when we did Freaks and Geeks and we were looking for kids, we cast and we found James Franco and Linda Cardellini and Seth Rogen and Martin Starr and Busy Phillips and on and on and on. And then they've all just done amazing work over the years. Jason Segal's amazing. And then every year we meet new people and then people break off and then every once in a while we work together again. But a lot of it is from the Ben Stiller show and Freaks and Geeks.
Ben Stiller. So how does it like you get to be a black guy and be in a crew like Chris Robinson, Romany Malco? How does that happen?
How does that connection happen? Well, Romany Malco was in this movie with Paul Rudd, this independent movie that this friend of ours, Jesse Pretz, made, and Rudd and Malco were so funny together in this little independent movie that not many people saw that I thought, well, let's just get both of them. And then Kevin Hart was somebody that I did a pilot with. Yeah. And Kevin and I became friends, and I did a TV pilot for ABC, and it was about unemployed actors and comedians. And it starred Amy Poehler, Kevin Hart, Judge Reinhold, and Jason Segal.
Wow.
And January Jones. And this is in 2002. And it didn't get picked up. And I kept saying to them, do you understand that these are going to be like, some of the great people in our industry. Yeah. And ABC had no interest whatsoever. Wow. And then Kevin Hart was on Undeclared, a bunch of times. And so there's a lot of fun people in all these things.
Yeah, man, you find, and even with Girls, is this Girls' final season coming up?
It's the final season of Girls. We're about to shoot it. It's going to air in February. That's the 5th season. And then we're shooting this spring, the last season, which will be on in a year.
What was special about that? Because that to me, they're nothing alike, but Sex and the City gave me an insight on the world that I wouldn't have otherwise found out about,
Sure.
And I feel like Girls did that same thing, that Brooklyn scene, kind of a hipster scene, and it was very timely at that time. But then they deal with a lot of real issues that people don't talk about, often see on TV.
Yeah.
What was special about that? What made you click?
I saw this movie that Lena did. She did this movie called Tiny Furniture when she got out of college, which was about a girl who was 2 or 3 years out of a girl who had just returned from college and didn't really know what to do. And it was like almost like a James Brooks movie. It was really hilarious and smart. And so she got a deal to do an HBO pilot with my friend Jenny Connor. And, she's just brilliant. Yeah. I mean, there's so much press about her and people debate certain aspects of the show. But what they don't see is, she'll just bang out a script in a weekend and she'll email it to me and I'll sit in my kitchen reading it just dazzled. It's hysterical. I'm crying. I mean, she's a really brilliant woman. And I think she's doing things that people have been afraid to do. I mean, there's a lot of frank discussion of what it's like to be young and also about, sexuality. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever had the courage to show the specific issues of a young woman's sex life before, and she does it. It's so well observed and at times so funny and real. And she's a brave person, but also just a very insightful writer. I think she's going to be one of the greats for forever.
I love her. Y'all have anything in the works post Girls?
With Lena?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out what to do afterwards. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm lucky that I connected with her and Jenny on that project. So we all don't want to let go. So we're trying to see if we could roll right into something else.
Okay, that's what's up. You got the new series Love, right?
Yep.
And it's premiering on Netflix February 19th. I want to talk about that and open up the phone lines, 888-742-3345. Give us a call. Sway in the morning.
Where are you from?
Brookings, South Dakota.
My mom always tells me I should date a Midwestern boy because they're really sweet and honest.
Oh, really? Well, tell your mom to go fuck herself. I'm kidding. It's a joke. I didn't.
I got it.
That's how you get the girl. That's a clip from Love, premiering February 19th on Netflix. Judd Apatow is here. I always like stories about relationships because they never reflect mine. And so I just know there's other ways of finding and working through love. We had Leslie up here. Did y'all discuss that?
We didn't discuss it. What happened? What'd she say about me? She does a lot of jokes about how hairy I am these days.
Yeah, she talked about you being hairy and how it was almost a deal breaker for her. She never shared that with you.
It's very tricky. It's very tricky when you're this hairy. I have so much hair on my back, I can see it in my shadow.
Oh, wow.
This doesn't even make sense to cut it, right? Or how's it?
You don't know, because where do you start cutting and where do you end? That's always the issue. It's like, when you get a poodle and you got to figure out, like, what's it going to be? Where the ball's going to go on the poodle? Like, that's what I have to figure out with my own manscaping. Romany Malco was a big manscaper. He'd always talked a lot about the manscaping.
Yeah.
He would he'd sketch it out on a piece of paper first and decide his configurations.
Wow. Black men have a lot of back hair?
No, not Romany. Romany's hairless. He was born hairless.
I'm hairless.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're a little
I
cat,
don't shave or
Sway,
nothing.
meow.
Yeah, but I don't. Not even on my chest. I got pelvic hair.
You've hit the genetic potluck.
Yeah, I got pelvic hair. But
much.
Romney used to sell sex toys, so
He's down for
he's
yeah.
probably this. What is this show? So it's exploring relationships, or what is this show about?
Well, it's a very simple premise, which is it's just about a couple, but it's every single beat of it. So on a show, if you saw someone and you like them, on most TV shows, you'd cut to the next scene and they would call each other. But on this show, you might see everything that happens till you work up the courage to call. It could, and then if they go on a date and then after the date they don't talk for 3 days, that might be multiple episodes. And so it's just like following it very closely. And it's almost like Knocked Up as a TV series. It's just our sense of humor and taking a lot of time to show every detail of how a relationship evolves when it's really great, and then as it starts falling apart, and then how they try to hold it together. And it's Paul Rust and Gillian Jacobs from Community. And it's meant to be binged.
Okay.
You'll probably watch it in 2 sittings. People said to me at Netflix, most people will watch between 3 and 5 at a time, which I guess that's what I do. Like when Narcos gets going.
Yeah.
I'm going to do 3 to 5.
Yeah. This is true. Homeland. It's not Netflix, but I always wait till they stack up and just
And
watch
then
them
you
back
watch
to
it,
back
yeah.
to back to back. It's the money. When everybody's going to Netflix, it's the money, right?
Well, I think there's there's something about the way that the business has changed, because you used to do a network show, and so Freaks and Geeks, you'd make a pilot, and then you debate with the network what they wanted to change, and that would be a big fight. And then they'd order some episodes, and you'd watch the ratings every night, and when you found out the ratings, if they were bad, you would be terrified that you were just going to get pulled off the air. But with Netflix and HBO's like this also, they just order a season. You don't have that terror. And sometimes when your ratings are bad, the network will go, "We need more eye candy. Let's hire a new woman on your show." Or they'll have some like terrible ideas in a panic to fix it. And sometimes you'll see shows where like, "Oh my God, they moved," or "She changed her job."
Yeah.
And you realize that's like the network panicking to fix it. Where on Netflix, they just go, "Here's your money. Narcos team, go enjoy yourselves." And they're a part of the process, but it's not that You don't feel like you're making something with a gun to your head. And as a result, I think the work is better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you get a certain amount of episodes per season that you got to turn in, right? That's interesting.
Insightful, yeah.
DB, we should do something. What are we waiting on here, man?
Well, actually, it's funny because I have a message from a friend of mine who I've known since kindergarten by the name of Aaron Schwartz.
Oh wow, Aaron Schwartz, the star of Heavyweights.
Yeah,
who was, but now he's in that movie he was like the chubby kid at a camp for overweight young men. And now he's like a stud.
Yeah,
he's like the Gossip Girl.
Yeah, they've done articles about like, look at what happened to the guy from Heavyweights. He's not fat anymore.
He was a good man.
I wanted to ask you because I consider you kind of like the new John Hughes. You know what I mean? Like John had a really good understanding of teenage lives in the 80s, telling stories like Ferris Bueller and Pretty in Pink and movies like that. But you have a way of captivating adult humor and making it funny to everybody, not just for adults. You can tell stories about 40-year-olds and make teenagers find it funny. So what is your writing process like? Do you just get inspiration from friends or like crazy stories or?
I used to work for Gary Shandling at the Larry Sanders Show. And, he just always said, if you just get close to the bone on what people really feel and how they really behave, it's all funny. And he always talked a lot about how most people aren't honest most of the day. Like everybody has a mask on all day. Like I'm trying to appear like I know what I'm talking about right now, but underneath I might be nervous if my show is going to do well. And that mask is what's funny, is like just the way we all go through life and try to project something out there. And that it's very rare that the real you or the real truth gets expressed to people, and that there's a lot of comedy in that. And so that's all I really think about. Like, what would really happen? And when we did Freaks and Geeks, I used to think, this is just a high school show. It's like an episode of the Larry Sanders Show if it took place in high school. And I kind of think about everything that way. What would Gary do? How would he approach this?
What is the real Judd thinking right now as you sit in the studio and promote?
It's a good question. Yeah. Well, mainly about that there's video happening.
Okay, go with that.
They emailed me and they were like, do you mind if we shoot video for the Sway universe?
Yeah.
And and then someone said, hey, do you want makeup? And I said, no, I don't need makeup. And then as the guy is looking at me, I think I probably look like death right now. I'm puffy. I look like I'm gonna drop at some point, and it's more just about me and my, I'm about fashion.
Yes. Judd Apatow.
Harry Bat collection coming soon, baby.
Okay, I gotta take one caller in Utah. Brad, what's your question, real quick? Say what's up to Brad, y'all. Brad.
Hey, Judd. I'm a huge fan. I see all your movies. I own like all your stuff. I'm wondering, you're always so hilarious in these interviews when I see you on TV. I'm wondering why you yourself have never acted in your own movies.
That's a very good question. Due to a lack of skill, talent, ability. But I I've been doing stand-up the last couple of years. I used to do it when I was younger, and I started doing it again. And I've been working out at the Comedy Cellar, and I actually did Carnegie Hall in November. With Mike Birbiglia, and Adam Sandler came out as a special guest. So
Stun it on us right there. Let's go ahead and show off. Okay, you did Carnegie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, let me drop some credits for you right now.
Okay.
And so I've been putting effort into that kind of performing, but I have acted, and I'll pop up here and there, but you won't be happy about it most of the time. It takes a lot of courage as a man to go, you know what? Franco's good at this. I'm not. You have to know your limitations as a human being.
All right. Hey, thanks for your call, Brad. Judd, thank you for coming by, man.
My pleasure.
This is an absolute pleasure, man, having you on this show, man. Come back.
I will be back.
Okay. What coast you live on, West or East Coast?
I'm on the West Coast, but sometimes I'm here.
Okay. When you come here, know that you have a home with us, all right?
Thank you.
All right. Who we got up next after B?
Huh?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
We should have been out together. I got questions about the universe.
No, do you? We could put you on with him. He got an answer, right?
He's going to talk about whether or not the whole debate about the world being flat.
Okay, Neil deGrasse Tyson is up next. You astrophysicist and rock star. 888-742-3345. Call us.
It's Sway in the morning, only on Shade 45.